Hi everyone, I'm Mrs.KJ, one of the science teachers at MMBA, and today I'm going to go over the assignment for lesson 1.10 in life science. So on the board you're going to see some animals that hopefully you're familiar with. We have some cats, some dogs, some bears, but we have some different types. We can see here we have a polar bear versus it looks like a black bear. We have a wolf versus what would be a pet dog. Looks like we got a jaguar or a leopard there. Looks like we might have an ocelot or a margay there. And then we have a house cat. Now, all of you know these cats are all types of cats versus types of dogs versus types of bears. Well, in science, we want to make sure that we arrange them a little more specifically than types of. And so that's where we get into kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and finally the species. So our cats are pretty closely related. In fact, they belong to the same family. They belong to the same family, but they are different genuses. So here we can see our two cats right here are both Felis, whereas this cat over here, our larger cat, would be our Panthera group. But all of them are part of the same family. Our pet dogs and wolves are part of the same genus, Casus, and family. And our bears, again, part of the same genus, in this case Ursus, and family. But if we say what else they all have in common, well, they all eat meat, and that puts them in the order of carnivora. So they're carnivores. So we can see that, oh yeah, they all have that in common. And then as we go to larger groups, we can say, well, they're all mammals. And once we get to mammals, it's going to include other mammals that aren't carnivores, like a deer or a squirrel. And we can keep going up to a phylum, chordata, and then, of course, animals. So they're all animals versus maybe a plant or a fungus. So today's assignment is going to look at that same idea of how do we categorize the animals. So here we have our assignment, Classifying Organisms Exploration. Submit a picture or this document with a chart you created of the structure of the organized taxonomy cards. So you have two choices. Your first choice is you are going to print off your cards, cut out the cards, physically arrange them on your table, take a picture, and then upload that picture to us. So let me show you that. So if you are going to print and cut them out, you're going to go down to page 4, and you can see all these cards. And page 5, and page 6, and page 7. So you're going to print those out, cut them out, arrange them on your table, take a picture, and submit the picture. If you don't have a printer or you'd rather do it digitally, that's your second choice. Use page 2 to get your cards. Okay, so if we look at page 2, these are the exact same cards except way tinier. Okay, the exact same cards except way tinier. That was good English, right? Way tinier. And you need to keep the cards the same size so that they fit into page 3. However, you can zoom in so you can actually read them. And you're going to zoom in the bottom right corner in Word. So if you look at the bottom of Word, you're going to see your zoom, and you can zoom in. If I go to page 2, oh, now I can read those. Now I can read those. And then I can zoom out when I need to. So that's how you're going to zoom in and out to read your cards. If you're doing them digitally, you're going to grab each card by clicking on it and dragging it, and you are going to put it into this chart. You can see here we have a chart. Regardless if you do it digitally or on your table, you're going to end up having something that looks like this for a chart. So we started on the top with our eukarya and our animalia. I gave you those two to start with. Okay, they are still in your card deck. So if you're doing it digitally, you don't have to do it again. But if you are cutting them out and printing them, that's going to be your first 2 layers, your domain, your kingdom. Okay, now we're going to go to our phylum. So I gave you the first one here, which if I can zoom in for you, is chordata. So if you're cutting these out and putting them on your table, you're going to have this exact same start. So what you need to do is you need to arrange the rest of these into a chart that shows how they are related. And then there's some questions that you're going to answer. So note, be sure every level of organization is in the same row. For example, on page 3, there's rows you can fill in the cards for, and one species has been done for you. Use lines to connect each creature from its domain down to its species. So what I mean by that, if we go to my example, you can see here I drew in some lines to say, okay, I'm going from eukarya to animalia to chordata, and then I'm going down to avis, and I'm going to keep going all the way down. I have a line showing that, yep, that's my path until I get to a Blackburnian warbler, which is a bird, in case you didn't know. All right, then there's going to be some questions. You're going to be looking for some similarities among the organisms. You're going to be outlining them in a color so that they're not only arranged top to bottom and in their rows, but they're color coordinated, because that's going to help you a little bit more with these questions. If you are printing them, you can just use a crayon or a marker, colored pencil, just outline them in the color. If you're doing them digitally, how you do that is you simply double click on the box. Let me do that again. So if I double click on the box, now I have this picture format, and I'm going to find this one right here. It looks like a pencil with a line, and it's going to be your outline colors. And if you have your word a little bit larger, it will actually say picture border. So it'll say picture border, and then you can choose. And I'm like, okay, that is going to be orange, because up here in the directions, it said outline the phyla in orange. So that whole row is going to be orange. My next row, my classes, are going to be yellow. So once you have them down your table, you're going to do that same thing. You are going to double click on it. And when you double click on it in Word, it'll bring up the picture border, and oh, I wanted that one to be yellow because that's a class. So again, you can see that first one is done for you. So if you're thinking to yourself, how am I supposed to know where these even go? Good question. Let's take a look at the one that I did for you. So if we look here, we have eukarya, and then we have animalia. And look, it says subset. Sub means below, like a submarine goes below the water. So it's going to go below eukarya. Chordata, which is animals with a backbone, is a subset of animalia. Okay, so it's got to be one level lower than animalia. Here I have my birds, my avis, which is a subset, sub below, chordata. Okay, so that's going to be below it. Here, my next one, my perching birds, are below my general birds, my avis. Here, we have our wood warblers, which are a subset of my perching birds, my passiforms, and so it goes below it. And again, so you're just looking for what does it go below. So I have wood warblers, I have my warblers, my subset of Paralidae, and then I finally get to my actual species name, my common name, my Blackburnian warbler. And now this one you say, wait, but it doesn't say subset. But look right here. It has the genus as part of its name. It has Dendroica as part of its name. Now, as you might have noticed, Latin is not my first language, so I do struggle a little bit on those words, and that's okay if you do too. But you can see how they go from one to another. So what I would suggest that you do is one of two ways. One way is, I know some people like looking for all the ones that just say animalia and then put them in the third row. Okay, and then whichever ones say chordata, put under chordata, and there's another one over here that you're going to put over here. Another way to do it is to work backwards. So I look down here and I find all my cards that do not say subset. So for example, if I'm looking at these, I say, oh, a domestic cat. That's got to be on the bottom. Human. It doesn't say a subset and it just gives like the common name. That one has to go on the bottom. So you might want to start on the bottom and work your way up. Be careful if you start on the bottom and work your way up, because you might have to rearrange them from like the left to the right side to make sure that, for example, your humans and your cats end up under mammals, but your best beetle is not a mammal, so it's going to be over on the other side. If you are stuck with these, please don't be afraid to ask your learning coach for help, and don't be afraid to ask your teacher for help too. If you kind of get to a certain point and you're like, I'm stuck, if you're doing it digitally, a really good way is to come to office hours and share your screen so you can see how far you are. Or if you've gotten a certain part on your table, take a picture and send us that picture and say, okay, I'm stuck with where to look next. Once you have your whole chart filled up, Then you want to make sure you have lines connecting it so that we can trace a line all the way from its common name, the warbler, all the way back up into the fact that it is eukarya. If you're doing this on your table, you can just use a piece of yarn or string if you have it. If you don't have anything like that, if you just want to like lay down some pens and pencils, connect them in a row with a line, you can do that. The other thing is with a table, you have lots of room. So if you just spread them out enough so that it's easy for the teacher to see the lines, that's okay. You're doing it digitally. This entire page is going to be filled up. So then you're going to add the lines. So let me show you how to add lines real quick. You're going to go under Insert, and you're going to go under Shapes, and you're just going to pick a line. And from there, you're able to just draw a line. And it doesn't matter if they're not perfectly organized on there. You're just going to pick a line and draw it. And then, check this out. I just drew one line all the way behind here. But when you first draw a line, so Insert, Shape, Line, I did this, and now it's over the top. What you do is you're going to right-click on that line and do Send to the Back. And that makes it magically go to the back. Ooh, fancy. If you have questions on that or anything else, don't hesitate to let your teacher know. And have fun. This is kind of cool. It's like a really big puzzle, so have fun.